Adrian Ann Breitfelder, City Clerk, you are hereby directed to call a regular session of the City Council to be held on Monday, February 21st, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. in the historic Federal Building for the purpose of conducting such business that may properly come before the City Council.
Thank you. Good evening, and welcome to a regular session of the Dubuque City Council for February 21st, 2022. As a reminder to our participants, you can provide in-person input or virtual audio and written input during the sections of the agenda where public input is accepted. Input options during the live meeting include: in-person attendees may approach the podium when the mayor asks if there is any public input on the item they would like to speak to. Remote attendees can log into GoToMeeting using the login links, phone numbers, and access code that appear on the broadcast and live stream and posted on the front page of the meeting agenda. This option includes audio input and written chat input. If you are participating via computer, indicate which item you would like to speak to in the chat function, or note that you would like to speak during the appropriate section. If you are participating via phone, indicate which item you would like to speak to when phone lines are unmuted. All phone lines will be unmuted during the consent agenda, public hearings, and public input periods, and city staff will determine the speaking order of the participants. All comments, whether in person or virtual, must be accompanied by a name and address. Additionally, written public input is accepted by contacting the City Council directly from the city's webpage at www.cityofdubuque.org/council-contacts and through the City Clerk's office email at ctyclerk@cityofdubuque.org. This information will be reiterated during the meeting. Attendance for the session is as follows: Mayor Kavanaugh.
Here.
Council members Farber.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Resnick.
Here.
Roussel.
Here.
Sprank.
Here.
City Manager Van Milligan.
Here.
City Attorney Brumwell.
Here.
Thank you. And Mayor Kavanaugh, I will turn it over to you for the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, thank you, Adrian. Those who are able, please stand with us and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Under proclamations, we have Dubuque Eagles Aryan Auxiliary Month.
All right. And Mr. Deere, I see you're in the audience with us. Would you like to say a few words?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and City Council. And, I remember when the Eagles Club was right over here across the street. In 1970, they moved out to 1175 Century Drive. But, even up to the 40s, they were over across the street here. I remember my parents taking me in there in the 50s. And but 118 years that we've been, given to this community. And a matter of fact, I'll be working on some grants this week. But Dubuque Eagles, along with the Dubuque Eyes in the Future Committee, we've given over $1 million to this community. And it'll be 33 years this year that we've given to the $1,000 each year to the police department and sheriff's department's DARE programs. Going back to, I'll be applying for some cancer grants for Wind Cancer this week and other grants. But we've been it's been a place of relaxation, a place of people can go and really connect with their community. But I thank the mayor and city council for proclaiming the month of February as the Dubuque Eagles Aryan Auxiliary Month, and we'll have a little celebration, and we'll read those proclamations this week. And we are glad to be an important part of this community. And thank you all for operating this community to its highest level, and we appreciate you so much. We'll love this Dubuque community. And if you want to read that now, that's fine.
All right. Well, thank you very much for saying
And I did
this.
give the mayor an Eagles application also. Rick's a member. Mike Van Milligan's been a member since 1993. I signed him up. And anyway, and Roy Beale's a member. And I'll...
Well, thanks for mentioning that publicly, Mike. I really appreciate that.
Your arm okay?
All right. City of Dubuque proclamation. Whereas the Dubuque Eagles has been in existence and serving the Dubuque community and its residents for over 118 years. And whereas over the past 50 years, the Dubuque Eagles has made numerous contributions to charities, agencies, and people in need by assisting people of all walks of life, especially the youth of our beloved community. And whereas the Dubuque Eagles has donated to such organizations as Hospice of Dubuque, Finley Hospital, Went Cancer Center, Kiel Diabetes Center, Rehabilitation, Kidney, Mental, and Pediatrics Health Departments, Hills and Dales, Camp Albrecht Acres, Prevention and Child Abuse, and the VNA's Parent Partnership Program, Big Brother Big Sister programs, law enforcement projects, CPR grants for fire departments, food pantries and homeless shelters such as Maria House, the Teresa Shelter, and the Dubuque Rescue Mission, weatherization grant projects and grants to assist Operation New View Community Action Agency and Crescent Community Health Center, the Dubuque Sheriff and Police DARE programs, and the PT department at Clark University under the Spinal Cord Injury Fund. And whereas students from Loras College, Clark University, University of Dubuque, Hempstead High School, Wahlert Catholic High School, and Senior High School have raised over $54,000 in college scholarships in the last 14 years. The Dubuque Eyes on the Future Committee has raised over $240,000 in the last 14 years, with the combined total raised by the Dubuque Eagles of nearly $1 million in the last 52 years, equaling over $1 million raised in its 118-year history. Now, therefore, I, Brad M. Kavanaugh, Mayor of the City of Dubuque, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council, staff, and citizens of Dubuque, do hereby proclaim the month of February 2022 as Dubuque Eagles Airy and Auxiliary Month in the City of Dubuque, Iowa. Oh, hang on, I stopped early. And officially recognize the tremendous and continued efforts of the Dubuque Eagles for their amazing volunteer work and engaged citizenship. Come on. I have a few of these here for you, too. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's good to see you.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, and next up we have the Dubuque Read Across America Day proclamation. I see Ms. Beth McGorry here in the audience with us, so come on up, Beth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Beth McGorry, and I am the Director of Donor Relations at St. Mark Youth Enrichment. And we're celebrating reading and Read Across America around the country on March 2nd. And I want to share my friend Jakira's favorite story with you. I am enough. Like the sun, I am here to shine. Like the voice, I am here to sing. Like the bird, I'm here to fly and soar high over everything. Like the water, I'm here to swell. Like the fire, I'm here to burn. Like the winner, I'm here to win. And if I don't, I get up again. I know that I may cry sometimes, but even then, I know I'm here to try. I'm not meant to be like you. You're not meant to be like me. Sometimes we get along, and sometimes we will disagree. I know that we don't look the same, our skin, our eyes, our hairs, our frame. But that does not dictate our worth. We both have places here on earth. And in the end, we're right here to live a life of love and not fear. To help each other when it's tough, and together we say, I am enough. This book is her favorite book because she sees herself in this every day. She even told me, she's like, Miss Beth, she checks it out of the library all the time. And she wants to pull up the page for me. And she's like, Miss Beth, this is empathy. These little girls are empathy, and that's my superpower. She's now a 4th grader, and she teaches other kids every day because of this book. Reading for our kids brings so much adventure and so much to our world. And celebrating just one day, I gotta say that reading children's books is my side gig. The kids asked me today if it was my job. I'm like, nope, it's my side hustle. Bringing in good books for kids and making sure that representation is there for our kids. And she sees the poofs of the hair in her books and making sure that we give our kids an opportunity to see the adventure, to see the growth and the opportunity. Because we know, we're adults, we understand that if they can't read, they can't learn. But if they feel good about themselves, they're going to read out loud. Jakira reads this book out loud to her little sister, and that's brilliant. And that's what Reading Across America Day is. And so the last time we got to do this in person, Mayor Kavanaugh, you were there. That was the last one we got to do in person. And we're praying that next year we get to do it in person again. But on the 2nd of March, I invite you to watch our Facebook feed of people reading. And I invite you to read to the young people in your world. Bring a book, read a book, and bring the books along with you. So thank you.
Thank you, Beth. That was beautiful in so many ways. So thank you very much for all the work that you do. And I'm just thinking about empathy as a superpower and how better the world would be in that place if we all use that as our superpower. So thank you. City of Dubuque Proclamation. Whereas the citizens of Dubuque, Iowa stand firmly committed to promoting reading as a catalyst for our students' future, academic success, their preparation for America's jobs of the future, and their ability to compete in a global economy. And whereas St. Mark Youth Enrichment has provided significant leadership in the area of community involvement in the education of our youth, grounded in the principle that educational investment is key to the community's well-being and long-term quality of life. And whereas NEA's Read Across America, a national celebration of reading on March 2nd, 2022, promotes reading and adult involvement in the education of our community's students. And whereas the Dubuque City Council calls on the citizens of Dubuque to assure that every child is in a safe place reading together with a caring adult on March 2nd, 2022. And whereas this body enthusiastically endorses NEA's Read Across America and recommits our community to engage in programs and activities to make America's children the best readers in the world. Now, therefore, I, Brad M. Kavanaugh, Mayor of the City of Dubuque, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council, staff, and the citizens of Dubuque, do hereby proclaim the 2nd of March, 2022, as Dubuque's Read Across America Day in the City of Dubuque, Iowa. Thank you so much. Let's go. Okay, and our final proclamation this evening is a proclamation that I will be accepting, and I'll say a few words after I read this. The City of Dubuque Proclamation. Whereas one of the greatest responsibilities of any elected official is the protection of the electorate served and the protection of the greater public health and safety. And whereas on March 17th, 2020, the governor issued a proclamation of public health disaster emergency for the state of Iowa related to dangers of COVID-19, which remained in place through February 15th, 2022. Whereas over 740,000 cases of COVID-19 have been confirmed in the state of Iowa, and to date, nearly 9,000 Iowans have lost their lives due to COVID-19, and over 25,430 cases and 290 deaths have been reported in Dubuque County to date. And whereas statewide 61% of Iowans are fully vaccinated and 51% of them are up to date and boosted, 64% of the Dubuque County residents are fully vaccinated and 55% are fully vaccinated and up to date. And whereas the Omicron variant is currently the predominant variant and generally causes less severe disease than infection with prior variants. And whereas the risk of serious illness and death is significantly reduced with the Omicron variant, and in recent weeks, new cases of coronavirus have been dropping in every state except Maine, and hospitalizations are declining locally and nationwide. And whereas vaccines remain the best tool we have available for reducing the risk of symptomatic disease, hospitalization and death, and vaccinations continue to be widely available and accessible for all residents over the age of 5. And whereas, while the Center for Disease Control and Prevention currently designates Dubuque County at a high level of community transmission, the risk of serious illness and death for those fully vaccinated and up to date and boosted is significantly less than with prior COVID-19 variants. And whereas we are entering a new phase of virus transmission, which includes the possibility of new variant development, and residents must remain informed and be prepared to take precautions based on the evolving science while taking responsibility for their personal choices and actions, knowing and understanding the risks of COVID-19. And whereas Section 372.14(2) of the Iowa Code authorizes the mayor to govern the city by proclamation upon making a determination that time of emergency or danger or public danger exists. And whereas pursuant to the powers vested in me as mayor under Section 372.14.2 of the Iowa Code and Section 731 of the City Code of Dubuque, I maintain the authority to rescind the issuance of a proclamation of civil emergency. And whereas pursuant to Article 3, Section 38A of the Iowa Constitution, the powers vested in me as mayor under Section 372.1.14.2 in the Iowa Code, Section 731 of the City of Dubuque Code of Ordinances, I hereby find it in the public interest to rescind the ongoing proclamation of civil emergency. Now, therefore, in consideration of the foregoing and other valid emergent concerns, I, Brad Kavanaugh, Mayor of the City of Dubuque, proclaim and order the following. I hereby determine that a state of emergency or public danger in the City of Dubuque no longer exists, and the prior proclamation of civil emergency is hereby rescinded. This proclamation is part of an ongoing response of the City of Dubuque to COVID-19. Please be aware these decisions have been made based upon the information available today. You can find the most recent information about the city's response to COVID-19 at www.cityofdubuque.org. Proclaimed this 21st day of February 2022 by the authority vested in me by the Code of Iowa and the City of Dubuque Code of Ordinances. So before we move on to further business, I just want to say a few words because I don't think I'll ever forget the day that I was sitting right over there when Mayor Buell made the first emergency proclamation in response to COVID-19 coming into Iowa and shortly thereafter into our community. What we're doing today is we are moving into the next phase of this pandemic. And in doing so, it doesn't mean that we don't stop watching, doesn't mean that we stop being vigilant, but what it means is that we are moving on as much of the country is moving on and much of our community already has moved on. And we're doing so based on the evidence. So I want to mention that I'm proud to be a member of an elected body that has gone through this pandemic by following the recommendations of our medical community and by looking at the scientific evidence that's before us. We've never been able to make a decision on rock hard evidence and, the ability to say, like, this is exactly what we're supposed to do. It's been difficult the entire time, more so for those in the public health community. But for us, we've had to make these decisions based on the evidence that sits before us. And this decision, though, while it is mine as mayor, was not made alone. Did consult with our public health office and Mary Rose Corrigan, our public health community, the medical community in general. And at this point, we expect changes to be coming from the CDC nationally, but as a region, we're at a point where we're ready to take some next steps. So I want to thank everybody up here for everything that they have done throughout this time, and thank everyone in the community for doing the same. And also ask that we continue to watch, continue to be careful, and continue to respect one another. I want to point out that, while this does actually rescind the current mask rules for City of Dubuque buildings and allows us to enter City of Dubuque buildings without a mask, it doesn't mean that we have to. You can still wear one if you need to, for whatever reasons. If there's a need, if there's a want, you're absolutely welcome to do so at this table, in these chambers, and in any City of Dubuque building. So thank you very much for everyone's vigilance, and hopefully, we are closer than ever to actually ready to climb out of this pandemic for good. So with that, we'll move on to further business. So thank you. Adrienne?
We'll move on to consent items. At this time, anyone participating in the meeting in person who would like to discuss one of the consent items, please approach the podium when the mayor asks if there is any in-person input and state your name and address. For all remote attendees, please enter your name and address in the chat function or state your name and address over the phone when the mayor asks if there is any virtual input. If more than one participant would like to speak, then city staff will determine the speaking order of the participants. Please state the item you would like removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion and consideration, and consent items can be found on pages 2 through 5 of the agenda.
Okay. Do we have anyone here in chambers who would like any of the consent items removed for separate discussion? Anyone virtually?
There's not.
Okay, I'll bring back to the table then for Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Resnick.
Yes, I move to receive and file the documents, adopt the resolutions, and deal with the consent items as recommended.
Second by Farber.
I have a motion by Mr. Resnick, a second by Ms. Farber. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones,
Aye.
Sprank,
Aye.
Resnick,
Aye.
Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Farber,
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
That motion passes 6-0.
We will move on to items set for public hearing, and we have three. First is disposition of vacated alley in Butyl and Langworthy's addition to the city of Dubuque, Dubuque County, Iowa, to Daryl A. Schrobelgen and Jean A. Schrobelgen for March 7th, 2022. Second is Stump Sidewalks Project 3 for March 7th, 2022. And third is fiscal year 2023 annual action plan public hearing for March 23rd, 2022.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Resnick.
I move to receive and file and adopt the resolutions and set the public hearing for the dates and times specified.
Second by Roussel.
We have a motion by Mr. Resnick, second by Ms. Roussel. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones,
Aye.
Sprank,
Aye.
Resnick,
Aye.
Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Farber,
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
That motion passes 6-0.
We will move on to boards and commissions, and we have appointments to be made for the Community Development Advisory Commission, the Housing Commission, and the Resilient Community Advisory Commission.
Okay. So first of all, we have the Community Development Advisory Commission. We have 2 3-year terms through February 15th, 2022, and we have 3 applicants. So Adrian, I think I'll have you call the roll, please, and we'll see if every council member could please choose 2.
Jones,
Bowles and Hinky.
Sprank,
Bowles and Hinky.
Resnick,
Dean Bowles and Sasha Williams.
Kavanaugh,
Dean Bowles and Sasha Williams.
Farber,
Dean Bowles and Michelle Hinky.
Roussel.
Dean Bowles and Michelle Hinky.
So Dean Bowles and Michelle Hinky are appointed to the 2 3-year terms through February 15th, 2022. For the Housing Commission, we have 2 3-year terms through August 17th, 2024. There's an at-large term and a Section 8 representative term. So I will take a motion on this one, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
I move that Renee Kehoe be appointed to the at-large term and Charlene Turpin be appointed for the Section 8.
Second by Farber.
We have a motion by Mr. Jones and a second by Ms. Farber. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones,
Aye.
Sprank,
Aye.
Resnick,
Aye.
Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Farber,
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
That motion passes 6-0. Our final appointment is the Resilient Community Advisory Commission. We have 1 3-year term through July 1st, 2022, and 1 applicant.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Roussel.
I move to appoint Josh Chamberlain to the Resilient Community Advisory Commission.
Mr. Mayor, I'll second that with a point of order, though.
Yes, please.
This is to fill an expired term, it appears to be, or is it, am I wrong that this? No, this is right. This is the remainder of a 3-year term that expires in July of this year. The first one we voted on was for terms that have expired to be reappointed through 2025, and we said 2022. I think.
I'm sorry, where are we looking, please, Mr. Jones?
Community Development Advisory Commission, I think we just said the date wrong. It's February 15th,
Oh, yeah,
2022
it's
has
recorded
occurred.
wrongly in there. Thank you very much for pointing that out, Mr.
Those
Jones.
should
I
be
didn't
new
even
3-year
notice.
terms for the 2 people reappointed through 2025. And my comments on the Resilient Community Advisory Commission were all completely wrong and fallacious, so disregard.
Okay, all right. So to clarify then, we need to correct the year for the Community Development Advisory Commission to 2025. Is that correct? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jones. And then this term that we are currently voting on, Resilient Community Advisory Commission, is a 1-year, 3-year term through July 1st, 2020.
I think it's just a few months of the balance of a term.
Correct. I think
Because the
it's the
incumbent- the
remainder
Vacant
of
terms.
a term.
Okay, so it is July 1st, 2022. Okay, we're all clear on that one? All right, so we have a motion by Ms. Roussel, a second by Mr. Jones. So Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones,
Aye.
Sprank,
Aye.
Resnick,
Aye.
Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Farber,
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
That motion passes 6-0.
We will move on to public hearings. At this time, anyone participating in the meeting in person who would like to discuss one of the public hearing items, please plan to approach the podium when the mayor asks if there is any in-person input for the public hearing you would like to speak to. For all remote attendees, please enter your name and address in the chat function and state your question, or state your name and address over the phone when the mayor asks if there is any virtual input for the public hearing you would like to speak to. If more than one participant would like to speak, then city staff will determine the speaking order of the participants. And public hearing number 1 is resolution of approval for the proposed amended and restated urban renewal plan for the Greater Downtown Urban Renewal District, version 2022.1.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Resnick.
I move to receive and file and adopt the resolution.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Resnick, and a second by Mr. Jones. Corey, please.
Economic Development Director Jill Connors is recommending that following the public hearing, City Council adopt a resolution approving the amended and restated Urban Renewal Plan version 2022.1 for the Greater Downtown Urban Renewal District. The city entered into a development agreement with Clower Manufacturing Company on February 7th, 2022. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Okay, thank you, Corey. We are in a public hearing to consider approval of the amended and restated urban renewal plan for the Greater Downtown Urban Renewal District, version 2022.1. Do we have anyone in the chambers to address us on this, or anyone virtually?
There are no virtual comments.
Okay. Hearing no comments.
Correct, no emails
Okay,
received.
thank you. Hearing no one from the public, then I'll bring it back to the table for any questions or discussion. Hearing none. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones,
Aye.
Sprank,
Aye.
Resnick,
Aye.
Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Farber,
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
That motion passes 6-0.
Public hearing number 2 is resolution of approval for the proposed amended and restated urban renewal plan for the Greater Downtown Urban Renewal District, version 2022.2.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Roussel.
I move to receive and file and adopt the resolution.
Second by Farber.
We have a motion by Roussel, second by Farber. Corey, please.
Economic Development Director Jill Connors is recommending that following the public hearing, City Council adopt a resolution approving the amended and restated Urban Renewal Plan version 2022.2 for the Greater Downtown Urban Renewal District. The city entered into a development agreement with Clower Manufacturing Company on February 7th, 2022. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Corey. We are in a public hearing to consider approval of the amended and restated urban renewal plan for the Greater Downtown Urban Renewal District, version 2022.2. Do we have anyone in the chambers or virtually to address us on this?
No
There are
emails
virtual
received.
comments.
All right, thank you. Hearing no one from the public, I'll bring back to the table. All right, Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones,
Aye.
Sprank,
Aye.
Resnick,
Aye.
Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Farber,
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Public hearing number 3 is vacating portions of sanitary sewer utility easements over Ichiban Realty LLC property at 3187 University Drive in Dubuque.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
I move to receive and file the documents and adopt the resolution.
Second?
I have a motion by Mr. Jones, second by Mr. Resnick. Corey, please.
City Engineer Gus Sahoyas is recommending City Council adopt a resolution vacating all interest in portions of the sanitary sewer utility easements as indicated on the attached Exhibit A and located on Lot 1 of Sarah S. and Edward R. Bartles Addition in the city of Dubuque, Iowa. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Corey. We are in a public hearing to consider disposing of property by vacating city interest in portions of sanitary sewer utility easements over and across part of Lot 1 of Sarah S. and Edward R. Bartles Addition in the city of Dubuque, Iowa. Do we have anyone in the public to address us on this, either here or virtually?
No virtual comments.
And no emails received.
All right, thank you both. Back to the table for discussion. All right, Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones,
Aye.
Sprank,
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
That motion passes 6-0.
Public hearing number 4 is sale of city-owned property at 2247 Central Avenue, deny purchase agreement.
Mr. Mayor?
Ms. Farber.
Yes, I move that we receive and file and adopt the resolution.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Farber, a second by Mr. Jones. Corey, please.
Housing and Community Development Director Alexis Stager is recommending City Council hold a public hearing, deny the purchase agreement for 2247 Central Avenue as presented today, and reconsider sale in March 2022. Due to some administrative timelines, the City of Dubuque received and conditionally approved a purchase agreement, but must deny that offer and post the property for sale on the MLS for at least 2 weeks. This provides equal opportunity for residents to submit an offer for purchase to be considered. The City of Dubuque does not take the highest bidder on a property. Any offers submitted are considered by the goals of the change program. This is also why the city does not accept offers with the required time to respond. Low to moderate income residents need time to get pre-approvals from a bank to provide offers on homes. They are often beat out in the competitive real estate market by higher income individuals who have less barriers to the purchase. The criteria that will be used to select a buyer is as follows. 1, price is the appraised value or a lower value set by the housing department to remain affordable. $162,000 appraised value is affordable with incentives provided in this case. 3% down payment is required. 2, low to moderate income household. 3, first-time homebuyer. 4, housing choice voucher participant. 5, participant is homeownership ready, participant in homeownership ready programs with the City of Dubuque or its partners. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval of the denial.
Thank you, Corey. We are in a public hearing to consider denial of purchase agreement for real property at 2247 Central Avenue and remarketing for sale until March 1st, 2022. Is there anyone from the public to address us on this, either here or virtually?
There are no virtual comments.
And no emails.
All right, thank you. Bring it back to the table for discussion. All right, hearing none. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
That motion passes 6-0.
Public hearing number 5 is sale of city-owned property at 351 East 15th Street.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Roussel.
I move to receive and file the documents and adopt the resolution.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Roussel, second by Jones. Corey, please.
Housing and Community Development Director Alexis Stager is recommending City Council approve a resolution disposing of 351 East 15th Street to Cameron K. Hall for $122,000. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Corey. We are in a public hearing to consider disposing of city interest in real property located at 351 East 15th Street in the city of Dubuque, Iowa. Do we have anyone in the public to address us on this, either here or virtually?
There are no virtual comments.
And no emails.
All right, thank you. Bring it back to the table. All right, Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
We will move on to public input. At this time, anyone participating in the meeting may address the City Council on the action items on the agenda or on matters under the control of the City Council. For all in-person attendees, please approach the podium and state your name and address. For all remote attendees, please enter your name and address in the chat function or state your name and address over the phone when the mayor asks if there is any virtual input. If more than one participant would like to speak, then city staff will determine the speaking order of the participants. Individual remarks are limited to 5 minutes, and the overall public input period is limited to 30 minutes. Under the Iowa Open Meetings Law, the City Council can take no formal action on comments given during public input or that do not relate to the action items on the agenda.
Okay, do we have any public input this evening?
There's no virtual public input.
And no emails received.
Okay. Then we have no public input tonight. We can move on to action items.
Action item number 1 is tax increment ordinance for the Greater Downtown Urban Renewal District as amended by version 2022.1 of the amended and restated plan.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
I move to receive and file the communications and further move that the requirement that a proposed ordinance be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting of which is to be finally passed be suspended.
Second?
We have a motion by Mr. Jones and a second by Mr. Resnick. Corey, please.
Following City Council approval of version 2022.1 of the amended and restated plan, Economic Development Director Jill Connors is recommending that City Council approve the ordinance amending the tax increment financing district for the Greater Downtown Urban Renewal District. The city entered into a development agreement with Clower Manufacturing Company located in the North Kerper Boulevard sub-area on February 7th, 2022. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Corey. We have any discussion? All right. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
The motion passes 6-0.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
I move final consideration and passage of the ordinance.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Jones, second by Mr. Resnick. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Action item number 2 is tax increment ordinance for the Greater Downtown Urban Renewal District as amended by version 2022.2 of the amended and restated plan.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Roussel.
I move to receive and file the documents and further move that the requirement that a proposed ordinance be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed be suspended.
Second?
We have a motion by Ms. Roussel, a second by Mr. Resnick. Corey, please.
Following City Council approval of version 2022.2 of the amended and restated plan, Economic Development Director Jill Connors is recommending that City Council approve the ordinance amending the tax increment financing district for the Greater Downtown Urban Renewal District. The city entered into a development agreement with Clower Manufacturing Company located in the North Kerper Boulevard sub-area on February 7th, 2022. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Corey. Any discussion? All right. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
That motion passes 6-0.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Roussel.
I move final consideration and passage of the ordinance.
Second?
Motion by Roussel, second by Resnick. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Action item number 3 is proposed grant award to Carrick Properties LLC for the redevelopment of 1736 Central Avenue.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
I move to receive and file the documents and adopt the resolution.
Second by Farber.
Motion by Jones, second by Farber. Corey, please.
Economic Development Director Jill Connors is recommending City Council approval of the grant agreement and authorization to execute the attached loan agreement with Carrick Properties LLC for the rehabilitation of 1736 Central Avenue. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Corey. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Ms.
I just
Farber.
want to give a shout out to Chris Richards for the work that he has done. We've actually toured through Dubuque Initiatives, the facility, and actually seen the work that has been done, and it is really wonderful and just a real positive economic addition to that neighborhood, so, thank you.
Ms. Farber. Any others? Okay. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Action item number 4 is fiscal year 2022 CDBG CV nonprofit support grant recommendation and agreement.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Resnick.
I move to receive and file and adopt the resolution.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Resnick, second by Ms. Roussel. Corey, please.
Housing and Community Development Director Alexis Stager is recommending City Council approval of the COVID Nonprofit Support Grant Agreement with the recommended organization, Dubuque for Refugee Children, and authorize the mayor to execute the contract on behalf of the city. The City of Dubuque received funding in the amount of $521,469 from the Iowa Economic Development Authority in the form of Community Development Block Grant CARES Act, or CDBG-CV funds. So all activities must tie back to the prevent, prepare, respond model with COVID-19. Nonprofit support grants were allocated $97,500 to support local organizations working with community members impacted by the pandemic. The maximum award is $15,000. The city received 15 applications for funding for a total requested amount of $204,479. A subcommittee of 3 Community Development Advisory Commission members and 2 city staff reviewed applications and recommended funding 7 applicants at full request. The Community Development Advisory Commission met on Wednesday, December 15th, 2021, and accepted the recommendation of the review committee. 6 other organizations were awarded at $15,000 each, and their agreements went before City Council on January 18th, 2022. Grant recipients agreed to use COVID nonprofit support grant resources to further goals identified by the City Council. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Corey. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones,
Aye.
Sprank,
Aye.
Resnick,
Aye.
Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Farber,
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Action item number 5 is Workforce Housing Needs Early Efforts Work Session Request.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Resnick.
I move to receive and file and set the work session for March 21st at 5:30 PM.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Resnick and a second by Ms. Roussel. That work for everybody? Excellent. All right, Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones,
Aye.
Sprank,
Aye.
Resnick,
Aye.
Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Farber,
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Action item number 6 is Arts and Culture Master Plan Implementation Efforts Work Session Request.
Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Roussel, or I'm sorry, was that
Yes.
Ms. Roussel? Sorry.
I move to receive and file the documents and set the work session for April 18th at 5:30 PM.
Second by Farber.
All right, thank you. I have a motion by Ms. Roussel, a second by Ms. Farber. And that works for everybody too? Excellent. All right, Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones,
Aye.
Sprank,
Aye.
Resnick,
Aye.
Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Farber,
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Mr. Mayor, just a quick point of clarification. April 18th is Easter Monday. We're still having a council meeting that night, correct?
I believe so. Yep.
So,
So, yeah.
thank you very much.
Action item number 7 is Sustainable Dubuque Quarterly Work Session Request.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Ms. Roussel.
I move to receive and file the documents and set the work sessions for May 16th at 5:30, July 5th at 5:30, and November 21st at 5:30.
And second by Farber.
All right, motion by Ms. Roussel and second by Ms. Farber. 3 dates there. That one working for everybody too? Okay. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones,
Aye.
Sprank,
Aye.
Resnick,
Aye.
Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Farber,
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Action item number 8 is Fiscal Year 2023 Budget Recommendation.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Farber.
make a motion that we receive and file.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Farber and a second by Ms. Roussel. I understand we've got Mike on the line and you are going to be presenting this, Mike?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I will be presenting it, and Randy Gale will be moving the slides for me, hopefully.
Sounds good.
I'd be there, but maybe it's fitting on President's Day that I'm snowed in Rapid City, South Dakota, which is the home of Mount Rushmore. So
That is fitting indeed.
thanks, Randy. First of all, I would like to thank Jennifer Larson, our Finance and Budget Director, who put this budget together. And of course, she had some assistance, and we greatly appreciate that assistance. But at the same time, she was short-staffed. Her 2 budget positions were vacant at the beginning of this process. And since we've filled one of the positions a few months ago, and the second position actually effective today. So next year, Jennifer will have a lot more help. But Jennifer, thank you so much for all the work you did. The other thing I'd like to say before I start the presentation is we just completed orientation of new employees. And one of the questions we asked is, what is the best thing that's happened to you in your job at the city so far? And I was the first one to answer that question, only I'm not getting new orientation since I've been here 29 years. So I, of course, had a lot of things to think about as how could I answer that question. But I will tell you that the answer jumped out for me very easily, because in March of 2020, the world shut down. But the city of Dubuque, as a service organization, did not shut down. And I've gotten a lot of comments from our residents about the great appreciation they've had for the service they've gotten over the last 2 years. Most of our employees didn't get a chance to work from home. They still had to answer police calls and fire calls. They still had to go to the water plant to make sure the people would get water. They still had to be at a sewer plant to make sure their sewage would be treated. The animal warden still had to answer calls. The building inspectors still had to inspect buildings. Rental inspectors still had to inspect rental housing. Engineers still had to go out to construction sites. And I have to say, I feel like they didn't miss a beat. And of course, we have, as we know, the Woman of the Year. She was designated by a local organization, and that was our public health specialist, Mary Rose Corrigan, and the leadership that she provided. So for me, that question was easy. What's the best thing that's happened to you in your job at the city so far? It's how the City of Dubuque employees stepped up over the last 2 years during this pandemic. And now I will switch over to the budget presentation. Thank you for allowing me that little editorial comment. So slide 2, Randy. So as always, the mayor and council had their August strategic planning session in 2021, and that sets the groundwork for this FY23 budget recommendation. And so we hope after you review it, you feel like we have worked towards achieving your 5-year goals, in slide 3, Randy, and that we've been responsive to your top and high priorities. After you set those in August, I gave those to the department managers, the city boards and commissions, and asked them to make recommendations to me on what resources they need to make these things happen. And they made those recommendations to me. And as you'll hear later, I wasn't able to recommend them all because we didn't have available enough resources. But I do feel like we've gone a long way towards achieving what you've asked us to achieve. And I hope as you have your hearings in the month of March that you feel the same way. Slide 4, Randy. And we also know that our overarching goal is to create an equitable community and organization of choice, high performance organization and community with engaged employees and residents that is data-driven, outcome-focused, built on the 4 pillars of resiliency, sustainability, equity, and compassion. And we do that through planning, partnerships, and people. Number 5, Randy. Now, Dubuque, unfortunately, in the late 70s and 80s into the early 90s, lost 10% of our population. But you can see we've climbed out of that deep hole and have now exceeded our population that was this pre-dip. And while I don't have any slides to demonstrate this tonight, I can tell you there's cities all across the Midwest that can't say this. As a matter of fact, Dubuque lost 10% of its population. There's some cities like Youngstown, Ohio, that have lost over 50% of their population. There's also cities across the state of Iowa that are losing their population to this day. They're still losing population. which of course we're not. Slide number 6, Randy. So the budget recommendation is built on this property tax rate. This was the original rate, which I had recommended. And you can see if you adopt this property tax rate at your final public hearing, there'll be no increase in our property tax askings of the citizens. You'll collect the same amount of property tax you collected last year. However, because of increased valuations for residential properties, the average residential property taxpayer will pay almost 3% more in property taxes. The average commercial property would pay 3.5% less. The average industrial property would pay almost 3% less. And the average multi-residential property would pay, that's two rental units and above, would pay over 7% less in property taxes. And if you go to the next slide, 7, you can see that if you look at the property tax askings and using fiscal year 20 as the base, in fiscal year 2021, basically a very minimal change. Fiscal year 2022, basically no change. And in fiscal year 23, the year we're recommending, there again would be no change. So we've tried to pretty close to holding steady for the amount of property taxes that were asked over the last 3 years. And then if you go to slide 8, you can see the impact on the average residential property. You can see in FY21, the average residential property actually got a property tax decrease. In FY22, the current year, there was no change, so no increase or no decrease. And as I mentioned in FY23, if you adopt the recommendation, there would be a slight increase. And if you look at slide 9, since 1989, and you might say, well, how do you pick 1989? Well, that's the year the citizens by referendum passed the local option sales tax, and they said half of it should go to property tax relief. So we use that as our base year. And you can see that since then, the average home has had an annual increase of 1.26%, or about $7.55 a year in their property taxes. Now, the state has a homestead tax credit where people who have lived in their home for a long time get a tax credit from the state, and they don't fund it every year. If they had, the citizens would have only got an increase of $4.65 a year. Slide 10. I already told you the impact on the average residential property over the last 3 years. Let's look at the average commercial property. You can see it in fiscal year 21, the average commercial property saw a very small increase, about 1/4%. But in fiscal year 22, the current year, they saw over a 3% decrease, and this recommendation gives them almost a 3.5% decrease. Slide 11. This is the average industrial property. Fiscal year 21 saw almost a 0.5% decrease in their property taxes. Fiscal year 22 saw almost a 3% decrease in their property taxes. If you adopt this recommendation, fiscal year 23, they'd see almost a 3% drop in their property taxes. Slide 12. And the average multi-residential, so once again, this is 2 units and above. In fiscal year 21, they did have a 9% increase, and that was because of a very large increase in the value of rental properties. But in fiscal year 22, because the rate dropped so much, not the values of their properties, they saw over a 7.5% decrease. And in fiscal year 23, they saw over a 7% decrease. And also that's because the state keeps lowering the rollback for the multi-residential properties. Slide 13. So there's only 11 cities in the state of Iowa with a population greater than 50,000. So we try and benchmark ourselves against those cities. And you can see that of the fiscal year 23 rates that we already know, and then the fiscal year 22 rates that they haven't revealed their 23 rates yet, the city of Dubuque has the lowest property tax rate of all 11 cities, assuming you adopt this recommendation. And Waterloo, their rate theirs the highest. Theirs is almost 100% higher than Dubuque. And the average of the other 10 cities is 50% higher than Dubuque's property tax rate. So we think the citizens are getting good value for their money. Slide 14. Then we tried to create a chart that looks at tax rate and median household income. So where you want to be on this chart is in the upper left-hand corner. That means you have a higher household median income along with a lower property tax rate. And you can see Dubuque is in the best position on this chart as far as those two factors lining up, high median household income and low tax rate. Slide 15. Then if you just look at property tax payments per capita, Dubuque has the second lowest property tax payments per capita, and boy, Ames is not much lower. So it's really basically a tie with Ames, I would say. The West Des Moines is 126% higher than Dubuque. They're the highest. And the average of the other 10 cities is 63% higher than Dubuque. Slide 16. In fiscal year 2015, the mayor and city council adopted a debt reduction strategy. And you can see that once again, comparing ourselves to the other cities, at 41% use of our legal debt, our legal debt limit, we have the 5th lowest use of our legal debt limit. Slide 17. And still related to that strategy of reducing, having a debt reduction strategy, you can see that in fiscal year 2016, the city reached the highest use of the statutory debt limit at basically 90%. And as of FY23, you can see we're at 41.1%. So we've had a 58% decrease in the use of the statutory debt limit since the mayor and council adopted the debt reduction strategy 8 years ago. Slide 18. Now this chart tries to show you the blue lines are how much debt we retire each year, and the orange line is how much debt we issue each year. And the council policy is, and part of the debt reduction strategy, is that we're to retire more debt each year than we issue. So realizing we still have to issue some debt to get things done, but just issue less each year than is retired. And you see, ever since that was adopted in 2015, for the first year of FY16, we've been able to achieve that goal of issuing less debt than is retired. And you can see projected out in the 5-year capital improvement program through FY27 is we still will be able to maintain that strategy. Slide 19. The mayor and city council has been very prudent in putting aside reserves for a rainy day. And the goal is at least 20% of the general fund operating budget is to be in reserve. You can see in FY23, we're projecting we'll have 22.3%. And each of the next 5 years will exceed the mayor and city council 20% goal to have general fund money in reserve at almost $18 million each year. Number 20. Now, of course, besides property taxes, the city also operates some enterprise funds. We have a water department. We have a sanitary sewer utility. We have a solid waste refuse collection and recycling utility. And we have a stormwater utility. And so the recommended changes in those rates are the water rate. I'm recommending a 5% increase, the sanitary sewer rate, a 9% increase, no change in the solid waste collection rate, and a 1.7% increase in the stormwater rate. And the reason that especially the sanitary sewer rate is up at 9%, and that is to take care of a lot of the capital issues that we have in our system, both at the Water and Resource Recovery Center and in the sanitary sewer lines, but also with the $1.1 trillion passage of the federal infrastructure fund. There's going to be tremendous opportunities to get grants, but the only way to get those grants is going to be to have projects that are ready. So in other words, where we've done some of the design work, and to have some matching dollars. So for instance, some of the loans that they're going to be giving out are going to be 50% forgivable. So you still have to pay back 50%, but so you'll be able to construct your project at 50% of the cost. Slide 21. And when you look at how do we compare on our utilities with these other cities, now water, we don't do all other 10 because they don't all soften their water, which is an expensive and a very high quality process. We have the second lowest water rate, sanitary sewer, the fourth highest, solid waste, the fifth lowest, basically right in the middle, and storm water, the second highest. And of course, we all know that not every city has the same stormwater problems we have, and had to spend $240 million to fix on the B branch, which is a lot of reason that the stormwater rate is so high, even though we were able to get $160 million in state and federal grants to help with that project. Number 22. So the 6 strategies that I'm trying to implement through this budget recommendation is community safety, roads and infrastructure, economic development, improved customer service, high quality of life in an equitable community, and identifying and funding important initiatives to support employees. You go to number 23, you're saying on the part of community safety, you can see we're being very successful. So our calendar year 2021 crime statistics, once again, we were able to get back with reducing crime. Remember, we had what I think was 4 years in a row of crime reductions. And then last year, we went from 1,509 to 1,512 crimes. So we went up by 3. So we couldn't say we had another year of reduction. But at 1,470 and 21, we are going back down on the reduction track. And our clearance rates, nationally, clearance rates are 45% for crimes against person. We're at 85%. They're at 17% for crimes against property, and we're at 90% of crime clearance. Number 24. In the area of community safety in this budget, I'm recommending we add 7 additional firefighter positions, allowing for the staffing of a 3rd ambulance on the west side of town on a 24/7 basis. And then also it will reduce the demand of overtime on our firefighters who the last 2 years, amongst all their other duties, helping with the vaccine efforts and the other efforts, just been a tremendous amount of responsibility for them. And at the same time, they've had, because of the hiring freeze, there was a lot of overtime. So we're glad we're be able to take care of some of that for them. In the 911 center, we're going to recommend replacing some of the part-time hours with full-time hours. And that revolves around the recruitment issues that every company in town is having. It's much more challenging to hire part-time employees. In police department, we're recommending that we outfit all of our police officers with tasers. The county has used them for years. They're a very effective tool to avoid injuries to suspects and to avoid injuries to police officers. And we're also recommending a major enhancement of our car and I'm sorry, that's not the next one. The next one is a continued deployment of our security camera network. And then the last one there is an investment in new body cameras and car cameras. And we're looking at an integrated system. And so, for example, potentially the way the system may work is when an officer pulls out their taser, automatically every in-car camera and body camera in the vicinity will automatically turn on and begin viewing what's occurring in the incident. Slide 25. Also in the area of community safety, we've got 16 vacancies in our police department, and that was caused by the hiring freeze and then the delays that civil service takes in replacing positions, and then the extensive training that they have to go through at the police academy. We're aggressively moving to fill all those positions in this calendar year. And then in the leisure services department, you'll remember in the current budget year, we have 2 positions. One is to help divert people from going to county jail, and another is to work with local nonprofits to find community service activities that those people could do instead. And we're recommending another position this year that would, I would call it a clerical position that would support those positions in their efforts. and the creation of a new department in leisure services. And the working title is Community Partnerships and Diversion Division. And that would be in partnership with our AmeriCorps program. Number 26, in roads and infrastructure, we've had some tremendous investment lately with the Southwest Arterial opening, the interchange at Swiss Valley Road on Highway 20 opening. We completed the reconstruction of Chavanel Road. This year, we were able to, in 2021, we were able to do 10 miles of streets through our paving through our Public Works Department instead of 5 miles. And in 2022, our goal will be to resurface the Northwest Arterial for over $8 million in that project. Number 20, page 27, slide 27. And in this area of roads and infrastructure, as I mentioned, while we're looking at spending tens of millions of dollars, we think there's a tremendous opportunity to get federal support, and that will help upgrade our city water system, our city sanitary sewer system, and our road system. Number 28, in economic development, we're working on revitalizing Central Avenue corridor, Schmidt Island. We've identified a new funding source for them through the new DRA lease. The West End Industrial Parks, we're looking at doing some new projects in those parks. And then in the new Crossroads Park, we're looking at creating a 30-acre pad for opportunities for companies to locate. And our hope is to do that this year, this budget year. So a lot of infrastructure investments to support our economic development. Number 29, in the area of improved customer service and employee safety, we're recommending that we give every house in town a refuse cart. And if they choose the smallest size cart, which is the 32 gallon, just like any other regular size garbage can, it would just be at their regular rate. We have larger size carts, and if they choose one of those, we're going to maintain our pay as you throw effort to incentivize recycling, and they would pay more for those larger carts. But also this is it'll clean up the neighborhoods, but it also a huge public safety thing for our employee safety thing. So I'm trying to remember the number. It's about one of our employees gets out of that truck about 150,000 times a year. And a lot of times it's when there's snow and ice and rain, and there's just unbelievable opportunities for injuries of slipping and falling and hurting yourself. And of course, the wear and tear on your joints and your back. And as a matter of fact, the refuse collection is one of the least safe professions in the country. But all over the Midwest and all over the state of Iowa, they use this system of automated carts, which the employee doesn't have to get out. An arm just takes the cart, reaches over, picks it up, and dumps it. And we really hope we're able to implement that here in Dubuque this year. And there's a golden opportunity because it costs over $1 million to implement for the additional arms on the trucks and the carts, is to use the federal ARPA funds that we got this year to pay for. We probably won't have another opportunity like this where we wouldn't have to increase the rates very substantially to implement a huge service enhancement like this. Slide 30. High quality of life in an equitable community. Of course, this year, in this year's budget, the council created the Office of Shared Prosperity and Neighborhood Support. There's through the ARPA money, there's lots of new investments in parks and trails. And in the budget recommendation, we're recommending that the mayor and council designate Juneteenth as a paid city holiday. So our employees, just like Memorial Day, Labor Day, the rest of our paid city holidays. Number 31, initiative to support employees. There's several, and you'll see the number in a minute, new positions in the budget. Now, a couple of them were added this year by amendment, project manager in the leisure services, and 2 new positions in our human resources department. Slide 32. But we're also recommending new positions in the FY23 budget. assistant fixed-based operator at the airport, a secretary position in the city clerk's office, climate action plan coordinator in the sustainability office, teen resiliency corps at the Multicultural Family Center, and a grant analyst in the city manager's office. And that actually was amended in this year, like those earlier ones that I mentioned to you. Page 33, more new positions, a utility locator in the engineering department with all the fiber optics is being put in. 3 new positions in the information technology department, a help desk, a user technology specialist, and a cybersecurity position. And then at the library, we're recommending we upgrade a part-time position to full-time that staffs the makerspace that they created. Slide 34. Another part-time secretary in the Public Works Department to help with all their calls they field and the work they do. And then also funding for the fire department employee health and wellness program, in addition to the 7 new positions. Number 35. And I mentioned this, there's the $1.1 trillion federal infrastructure bill, and most of that money, over 60%, is going to be given through competitive grants. And the people that are going to get the grants are the ones that are focused on equity and climate. And of course, we have a poverty reduction plan. We have a climate action plan. We're one of the few communities in the entire country that have both plans, but we have to be ready. So we have to spend money to do the design and engineering for projects so they're more competitive for these grants. And then we also have to have matching money available for most of these grants in order to get some of the dollars from the federal government that we won't have to pay back. Number 36. Well, this talks about what I just said. So number 37. So when I asked the departments, what do you need to do the council's goals and priorities this year? I'm able to recommend 159 improvement decision packages. I'm sorry, 159 were requested, and I'm able to recommend 128 of them. Over $2 million or annual recurring cost, and about almost $1 million for non-recurring, and that's in the general fund area. Slide 38. The non-recurring ones, the way we were able to fund those this year was in operating budget savings from this current fiscal year. Now, there's also improvement packages in the enterprise fund, so not general fund, and we're recommending $1.6 million of those. Number 39. And back to more information about the improvement packages. For general fund support, as I said, $1.9 million in recurring and almost $1 million in non-recurring. The total request in the general fund was $4.8 million. Number 40. I mentioned there are a significant amount of personnel changes this year. We're recommending to increase the full-time equivalents by 29, decrease the part-time equivalents by over 6, increase seasonal equivalents by just less than 1. So the net increase is 23 full-time equivalent new positions. Number 41, the operating budget totals $152 million, and the capital improvement budget totals $69 million. Number 42, and as I mentioned, we're trying to, as we put this together, to keep in mind that we're trying to create an equitable community of choice. Well, I'd be happy to answer any questions tonight. You're going to have 7 public meetings to listen to the public input in the month of March. And you'll have plenty of time to ask questions then. But if you have any burning questions now, we're ready to try and answer them. And Jennifer Larson is also on the line.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike, and thank you for the reminder that we're going to be together for 7 wonderful sessions to be able to talk more about this, too. We're looking forward to it, and I mean that seriously. Any questions right now? Any discussion needed?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Resnick.
How about a burning question for me? And that is, it appears, Mr. Van Milligan, that your ARPA funds have been set aside for non-recurring purchases, which I know is what you wanted to do. My question is, when we spend about $1 million on the automated trash collection, are these purchases going to boost future budgets when we need to replace them? Or what's the plan for that, please?
Well, the beauty of these things is they last a very long time. So I have one, and because residents now voluntarily can have them if they want. And boy, I can't remember. I think I've had mine like 5-6 years, and the thing is still in perfect condition. The wheels operate, but we would repair them if they break, or if the lid breaks or gets a hole in it. We can replace and repair those. So there is some ongoing expense, and then over time, some will need to be completely replaced. But it'll be over such a long period of time. It's really a very small impact. And the other thing is, this prepares us to avoid future increases because using the automated arm, you can collect a great deal more per single truck per day than you can the system we use today. So as the community grows, we won't have to add refuse trucks. We won't have to add employees. We'll just be able to expand within our current footprint of operational expense. So actually, on an operating basis, it's going to save us a tremendous amount of money over time.
All right, thank you very much. I agree about the trash containers being very sturdy. I guess I was talking about the collection arms themselves. If they're if they're going to, I don't know what the lifespan of that is going to be, but like you say, they've been used other places. Do they know what the longevity of that is planned to be?
I think the longevity of the arm is pretty much the same longevity as the truck. So now these trucks will just go into our cycle of replacement, which I think is every 7 years, just like the trucks of today. Nobody's mentioned to me any kind of significant impact of that. And back to the fact that since we're going to save a tremendous amount of operational money over the years, my guess is it's probably pretty easily absorbed into the system.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Any other burning questions? Okay, well, Mike, I'm seeing head shaking no here. So do you have anything else to say, Mike, before we wrap this one up?
That was it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, and appreciate it. Yeah, we're looking forward to being able to discuss all this in much more detail. We appreciate you getting the information to us now so we can start taking a look at this. And I know the public will get a chance to see all of these documents as they come along when we are going into these sessions. So I encourage everybody to follow along and be able to follow with us. So with that, we have a motion and a second to receive and file that document. So Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Next are council member reports.
Any reports from anyone? I have one briefly. I was able to spend a couple of days in Des Moines last week for the Iowa League of Cities meeting. We had a day on the Hill as well as a regular quarterly meeting for the Iowa League of Cities Exec Board. Specifically, the day on the Hill I found very helpful in being able to meet with all of our local legislators as well as some different departments, including the governor's office. There is obviously a lot going on across the state of Iowa this year, but I think the more we stay plugged into the legislative actions and the things that are applying to the city of Dubuque, the better off we're going to be. And I know that we have wonderful staff like Terry Goodman who are doing that, but then all of us too are able to follow along. So just letting you know that I was able to spend that time there. And if we have nothing else then, I believe we have no further business, so we will stand adjourned.
Muted.